Welcome to the number one 5-star rated show for the first steps into entrepreneurship. Don't forget to subscribe for the latest episodes. Enjoy.
You're listening to WERALP Arlington 96.7 FM. Disclaimer. Please seek the advice of a financial or legal professional in any and all business ventures. This show does not constitute financial or legal advice. And now, the show that helps you go from wannapreneur to entrepreneur. The Swift Kick Show with Timothy D. Craggett. Entrepreneurial tips and advice with a kick. Here's Tim.
Good morning. Welcome to the Swift Kick Show here on WERA 96.7 FM. I am Timothy D. Craggett. Let's get to the first kick. So what I wanted to do for this one was talk about information. Now, with all the stuff that's happening with Apple and Microsoft and such, Bill Gates actually said something back in the day that kind of set the tone for us that are internet entrepreneurs, and that's information is king. And when I got online in 2012, that was actually the first thing that I learned, that the person who could collect and curate the best, most accurate, or at least accurate for the time, information could sell it and actually make it into a business. And it was exciting for me back in the day. So what I wanted to do was actually take you into the world that is information marketing, which is another form of online entrepreneurship. What you're going to learn today is going to be such a game changer, because a lot of people don't think about information the way I do, or people like me do on the internet. It's not just a matter of going and hitting Google and searching something. It's actually about being a curator. It's about being the person that can put a buy button behind whatever information you have in your head. And so I am excited to share this part of my world with you. So let's take a break, reset, and I will be with you guys in just a moment.
Did you know this is only the beginning? There's always more show just for you. We have exclusive interviews and bonus content to help you on your journey into entrepreneurship. Go to www.swiftkickshow.com to learn more.
Welcome back to the Swift Kick Show here on WERA 96.7 FM, Arlington, Virginia, and exclusively on iTunes and Stitcher. I am incredibly excited. When I first had this idea for the show, I was like, I have to have this particular person on. It's like a full circle, pay it back, pay it forward type thing. And for me, personally speaking, you kind of got the sense now. I'm a family guy. I consider this dude family for me. And let me just tell you a little bit about him, then I bring him in. So he's a web traffic strategist and optimization expert. He's been doing this since 2004. So I don't know. I think AOL was probably still doing his thing in 2004. So he's been in the game for a while. Since 2007, his company has published hundreds of e-courses, information products, and digital print media since its inception. I pretty much learned the game from him. He's also helped his clients generate millions of revenue in his unique proprietary strategies, which have gained enormous amounts of targeted internet traffic and sales for his clients. Like, he knows his stuff. And the thing that's probably the most important thing for me is that he actually is my very first online mentor. So I'm honored and pleased and pleasured and happy and excited and all other words. He's an English dude, so I think this is an adjective. He can correct me. But I'm just really, really excited to bring on my friend, my mentor, Robert Stukes. So Robert, how you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you for that awesome introduction. And it's great to be here, man. Always great to catch up with you.
Man, it's been a while, dude. We got to find some time.
we definitely do.
Yeah. So let's get right to it. So as you kind of gathered from this whole thing with the show, we're moving people from starting their ideas to actually moving towards producing something, creating something that someone would be interested in. So let's go back into the beginning and the archives of Mr. Stukes and just tell a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this world called online.
Oh man, how I got started. Let's see. Okay, let's look back to and I'll give you the abbreviated version
Yeah,
too,
let's do
because
that.
it was 2004, and I'd never owned a computer before, and
Okay,
I always thought the whole
wait,
what's
dude.
that?
Never owned a computer.
I had never owned a computer before.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'd never owned a computer, and I was just finishing up 8 years in the Navy,
Right.
and I was in active reserve, and I was in the reserve center, and I was walking through, and my actual commanding officer was standing there with all these old, computers that they
Yeah.
were getting rid of,
Yeah.
and she says, "Hey, Petty Officer Stukes, do you want one of these?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm going to take a free computer." It was like an old Dell,
Right.
and with the big monitor and all this stuff. I was like, "Heck yeah!" And she was like, "Look, we got to get rid of them." It still had the confidential sticker on it and everything.
Nice.
They had been wiped clean. So I took it home, and I was still in my uniform, and I set it on the desk, and I looking at the wires and everything. And I was like, "Man, I bet there's something to do with this thing other than like get on MySpace, right?" Because that
Right.
MySpace.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah.
And I sat there and literally stared at because I was a college student at the time too. And I remember I had to push the monitor, a big, huge, heavy monitor out of the way to like write my homework.
Yeah.
And I kept looking over at it, and I was like, I bet that like I could like do something like a business or something like that.
Right.
Because I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. But I knew that the whole plan of me going to college was to go to law school. And after I got kind of rocking and rolling and into 2005, I said, look, rather than going 100 grand in debt, if I can get this business going to where by the time I graduate from undergrad,
Hmm.
I'm making what, the average of what lawyers are making when their first year out.
Yeah.
Like I can put off law school and, see where this business takes me. And it's been over 12 years now, and I haven't had to go back to law school yet.
That is
I,
that is so cool. Like I can kind of attest to the whole thing of just discovering this mythical, magical world of the internet and trying to figure out, okay, how can this thing be a income generating activity for us? And
right.
it's crazy that that's what you kind of figured out.
Well, it's kind of funny because if I wish I kind of had a camera in the room that day, because I was literally walking around looking at it like it was going to jump up and try to stab me or something. This computer, because I was not computer savvy. I didn't have an email address, and I actually had to get my girlfriend at the time to put that up for me. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna like start a business. She was like, yeah, okay. Do you want a smiley face on your AOL address or?
Oh, that is cool. Oh, that is a great story. So let's actually get into some meat and potatoes here.
All right.
So let's talk information, because that's our thing, and it's one of those things where you don't really think that money can be made with information, but a lot of people just don't look at how information is actually being sold to them today. So let's go through a couple of examples of some things that someone could look at as being a stepping stone into the world of information.
Well, a lot of people, and I just want to backtrack real quick, and I want to alleviate some concerns of anybody that is like, nobody's going to pay for that.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to pay for information. I can just Google it and get it for free. That's what everybody says. But let me alleviate that, and I'll ask your audience to kind of look back on themselves for a moment and say, hey, if you had a problem, okay, if you had a problem and you could either Google around and roll the dice for the information you get back, or by paying a very small fee comparative to the results you get, you can ask an expert where you're going to get the outcome that you want. When I say that, it becomes a no-brainer. Of course, I'm going to ask an expert for that very small fee relative to what I pay,
Right.
relative to what I get back. So people are paying for information out there. Matter of fact, the information in e-course, I guess, industry, because it doesn't encompass a lot, it's over $150 billion. And that was last year's number. And it's going up by about a quarter to about 30% each. Those are huge leaps. Now, that encompasses a lot. But think about if you just had the analogy I said before, if you just had that net and you went over to where that money's flying around, and you could put that little net up between where that money's flying around and offer value in exchange from it, well, how much of that $150 billion pie do you really need to, to really be happy with what you're doing? So when I tell my students, don't worry about if people are going to buy what you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on solving the problems of people. And then, of course, I mean, it all just falls base.
Mm-hmm. And that was actually the lessons that I learned from you in the beginning when we first got started. And just so everyone knows, the whole thing of being a problem solver is being able to isolate the problem and provide a solution in an elegant manner. And talking about things being elegant, what type of things do you use? Well, what type of things did you use then? And what type of things do you use now that someone can kind of get started in this whole thing of being a problem solver online?
Well, I always go back to, I always look for problems that I'm kind of interested in. And so we'll take I actually have a 12-point checklist that I go down, and I'm not going to get into everything there, but I'm going to hit on some of the most important things right away. And the first is I find people that are really passionate about the subject. Mm-hmm. I don't have to personally be passionate about it. I'd like to be interested in it, but I find people that are so passionate about it, they're arguing with each other, because believe it or not, people argue on the internet about more than just politics and sports.
Right.
And to give an example, a perfect example of that, we are in the outdoor market, and that encompasses a lot of things from four-wheel drive overlanding vehicles to camping and hiking and stuff.
Right.
A lot of my competitive intelligence comes from online forums and message boards where people will argue about the most inane small things. And a recent example of this is one I talked about in training not too long ago. And we found a 100 thread or 100-page thread on the best of people arguing on the best type of tent to use while hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
People are arguing with each other over a tent, And so when you have people that are that passionate, of course, the outdoor market is huge anyway.
Right.
Okay. But when you have people that are so passionate about that and they're arguing and they're spending their time and they're logging back in because I've got to see what this other jerk said about this tent, then that they are spending money on that and they're passionate about it. So that's one thing. And another thing is a lot of the biggest markets out there, and I'll prove this to you, are ego driven. And that's not as bad as it really seems, because everybody in some way is ego driven. It's just like when people, if I call my buddy George and he comes over to pick me up,
Yep.
and I get into George's car, but before I get in, I notice George's tires are all bald, right?
Yeah.
George can really use a set of tires, but the iPhone 7 just came out. And I'm like, George, you need a set of tires. But also, he's got just enough to get a set of tires or an iPhone 7. What do you think George is going to get? He's going to get that iPhone 7.
Yeah, I was going to make the guess on that, yeah.
And is he getting it because it's cool? Because it has something he needs? Because George already has the iPhone 6. I mean, there's a couple of extra features, but let's be honest, he's only losing a headphone jack.
Well, that's debatable in itself, but yeah.
Exactly. But the thing is, George wants people to see him with that iPhone 7, and he wants to talk online about that iPhone 7. New set of tires? There's a couple of mechanics or something like that. I'd be like, hey, that's a great set of tires or something. But he's going to go out and get that iPhone 7. Fitness is a huge ego driven. And so ego driven isn't really a bad thing. The car industry, we buy a new car, but we want other people to see us in that car as well as that car, Mm-hmm. So anything that you can do to make someone kind of want to show off or feel better about themselves, and information is a huge thing on how to do that when you tell people how to better themselves.
Mm-hmm. So let's do this. Let's take us a really quick break. And when we come back from break, we'll actually get into some action steps, because talking about this is really exciting. And I'm glad I actually have the guy that actually showed me the way. So we're going to take ourselves a really quick break. You're listening to the Swift Kick Show on WERA 96.7 FM.
The conversation doesn't end here. We'd love to hear from you so we can better provide you more great content and some fun stuff. To learn more, go to www.facebook.com/Swift Kick Show. Look forward to being friends.
Welcome back. This is Timothy D. Craigat with the Swift Kick Show. And again, I have Robert Stukes here with me. So Robert, let's talk some tools. So what's like the minimum thing that you can see someone using in order to make an information product?
Just to make an information product, if you have a computer, just
one from 2004.
Yeah, it could be one from 2004. I could literally take my own computer, that old computer, and I can still run a business on it here in 2016, going into 2017. It really is that. And when you strip away down, it really is just the value that you're giving. Mm-hmm. Because if I gave you a 500-page document on how to build a bird feeder, but I gave you a 1-sentence document on tomorrow's winning lottery numbers, which is going to be, more valuable to you, right?
Right.
So that's one thing that I always preach. But, first you have to decide your format. And that's a great thing these days because we have so much available to us. Mm-hmm. So if you want it to be a written one, which, that's perfectly fine. All you need is something like a LibreOffice or, something like that. Open Office is another one. Those are free. I think one of them is available on the Mac. If you don't have Microsoft Office or Pages and stuff like that for the Mac.
Right.
And one of my biggest tools, there's a free version, but the pro version costs $15 a year. I still use it all the time, even though I have way more expensive alternatives. It's called Screencast-O-Matic.
Right.
And I cannot stress enough just how great this little tool is because it allows me to do screencasts from the fly, and I can show people my screen. I can move the cursor around. They see the cursor move around. It's got a nice little yellow thing, and I can narrate and show people exactly what I'm doing, step by step. Hit a button, and it'll drop that MP4 off down to my laptop.
And just so the audience can get a more insight as to what we're talking about. So Screencast-O-Matic is a screen recording software that enables you to record everything that's on your screen. So like Robert was saying, like if he's telling someone exactly how to do, let's go with his example from earlier. Let's say he's showing people about this fictional tent that everyone is just raving and ramping about. Well, he might have some details he wants to express, and the way that he can use the tool like Screencast-O-Matic, pretty much whatever's on his screen is recorded just like a tape recorder or anything like that. And it just goes through recording voice and screen, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Both of them. And then, a lot of people have one of the most fundamental, like the easiest ways to build a product right there in their own pocket in their mobile phone. I mean, the cameras on these new phones are amazing.
Yeah.
And it would blow your mind how many of anything where I always do a lot of intro videos where it's just me talking to the camera in front of a white background.
Yeah.
A lot of those are just done on my iPhone. I set up the iPhone, I hit record, I walk around to it, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? But it all goes back to the content that you put out. So I think a lot of people, when they get into this, they think that the stuff they put out has to look and feel a certain way.
Okay.
But I always want to say, you want to put out the best thing possible, of course, but the substance inside of what you're putting out is by far the most important thing ever.
Let's go deeper into that.
Okay.
So what does that look like for someone who's thinking about, the whole thing of putting together information to present to someone? What goes into figuring out the substance of their information?
Okay, so there's two types of information products that we really put out. There's problem solvers and quality of life enhancers. So a problem solver would be, and I'm not even being funny, and we were in this market for a long, long time, but it was like how to clear up hemorrhoids if you have hemorrhoids and stuff. And the reason, and I'll tell you that, like, it's not that I have a fascination with hemorrhoids or anything like that. It's just that I was in CVS one night and I said, you know what? I bet if someone had something embarrassing happen to them, you know, where they had to, nobody wants to go and talk to someone about their hemorrhoids, right?
Right.
So, like, the first thing they're going to do is look online. Well, why don't I research and find all these ways that somebody could cure their hemorrhoids, put it in this package for them that actually works, and sell it for $29. And it sold from 2005 until we finally took that thing off the market in 2013. And that's 8 year. That's an 8-year run. That's not bad. And all that was a PDF, basically. It was like, it was like a 45 page PDF, something like that.
Jeez. So just so everyone can get the gravity of this. All right. So if you happen to be of some position and interest of finding a problem that's embarrassing like that, that is an opportunity waiting to happen. Hemorrhoids, dude? Really, hemorrhoids?
Yeah, dude. I that's just one example. It's just one example. We put out probably 24 types of these embarrassing affliction products. And, you know, we use search engine optimization back then, a lot different than it is today, to rank them up. And these are still like what you would call authority sites on the subject now, because I had content writers write all the content and everything. And they just churned along. And that hemorrhoid product itself, it probably brought in between, $1,500 to $3,000 in sales each and every month, years after I even touched it.
That is cool. So just wrapping up on this, because I want to make sure that everyone goes to hear the rest of what we can't actually air. So just wrapping up what we've already talked about right now. So we've talked about some pretty simple tools that you can use. We're talking about basically computer word processing, probably presentation software, which is covered in OpenOffice or Libre. We talked about the core messaging of your product, something that's a deep-rooted message, whether it's pain or pleasure. And we talked about hemorrhoids. But we talked about finding something that has cross-pollination capabilities, which makes it a little bit easier for you to penetrate inside of a market. So did I miss anything?
I know. That sounds really good. You put it more succinct than I could. I'm a very verbose person. So
see, there you go with those words again. So very, very cool. Like I said, there's more to come on this, and we're going to take ourselves another break. But right now, I want to thank you, Robert, for being on the show. I know that 20 minutes is very quick, but we still have more to talk about. So 20 minutes isn't 20 minutes. But for on air, thank you so much for being on the show. Dude, this has been a long time coming, so I'm honored and excited. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
And we're going to take ourselves a break, and then we come right back on the Swift Kick Show on WERA 96.7 FM.
Shows like this need your help to continue broadcasting through radio for the Arlington, Virginia community and online. Donations from listeners like you help create great programming to enrich the mind and spirit. To help WERA 96.7 and its commitment to promote community-based radio, please go to www.wera.fm and click on the donate button. Every little bit counts, so please kick in a little. Again, go to www.wera.fm. And now, for more of the Swift Kick Show with Timothy D. Craggett.
Now it's time for the last kick of the day. So, first off, thank you, Robert, for being on. Really do appreciate it, dude. This has been one of those really, really fun moments for me in my life, because it's not every day you get your first mentor to be on your radio show. But even more so than that, it's not every day that you get to hear from someone that's been doing this for so very long, and you get to know the ins and outs of the whole thing of the business. But the thing that I want you guys to kind of take away from the show today is that, some things you know in your head and some things you can learn, but everything has a value. Everything is worth something to someone. And if you can help them solve their problem fast and in an organized manner, you then open yourself up to actually having an online business that is based solely on information. You learn that it doesn't take much to do it. I mean, you're probably listening on the computer right now if you're not listening in your car or on your iDevice or Android device or whatever it is you have. But you can even use that to help you create information. We're talking a computer, some word processing software, presentation software, something to record it all, and you're on to the races. So what I want you to do, if this is something that makes sense to you, get more information at www.swiftkickshow.com/HT. So with that, you're listening to The Swift Kick Show.
You've been listening to The Swift Kick Show with Timothy D. Craggett. For more information and bonus content, go to www.swiftkickshow.com. Tune in next week for another kick.
Extra time. Welcome to the web exclusive content for the Swift Kick Show. Back with me again is Robert Stukes, my first mentor, the dude that's like amazing and just my information guru. But we were talking about a few things that were, entry level things to kind of get your feet wet. But we want to actually get into some meat and potatoes here. This is where we can really get geeky about it. So let's get deeper into this stuff. So let's talk about some traffic stuff, because we brought in this whole thing of information, but one of your specialties is traffic, and I really want to get deeper into that. So what makes sense as far as traffic in today's online world?
I'm gonna tell you straight up. I am really what I tell people to do. Sometimes they don't quite trust it when I first start because it sounds too easy. Okay. And so when people really start diving into how am I going to get traffic to the site, they go to Google, right?
Right.
And they start looking around and they're like, well, I have to do a couple of things. I have to stand out on the search engines, which is basically rank my website for a certain term that's related to what buyers are hopefully searching for, which I don't have to tell you can take weeks, months, even years.
Exactly.
And you never really know what the whims of Google are, and so that's a really bad way to start. I'm not knocking that as a long-term goal or a long-term strategy because we do it, but to get started, come on, it's going to take forever. You got to be good at what you do to be SEO, to do search engine optimization. So it's really front loading a ton of work, a ton of time, stuff like that. And then another route that people take, and it's always one of these two routes, is the search engine optimization route or the paid traffic route.
Right.
And the paid traffic route, don't get me wrong, I'll never knock paid traffic. I love paid traffic like a fat kid loves cake. But here's the thing
there
about
it is.
paid traffic. You can burn through money very quickly if you don't know exactly what you're doing. And you have to do a lot. You have to know a lot to really know paid traffic at first. You have to really track your metrics, which takes sometimes some expensive tools and software. You have to know about conversion. You have to know about copywriting. You have to know about a lot of things so that that when you pay for that click, or if you're doing like banner stuff or something, you pay them by the thousand. When you're paying for that traffic and it lands on your site, that we've all hit a site where it's just like, that's not what I expected at all. We just immediately hit the back button. Well, when you pay for that traffic, that's the last thing that you want people to do. And so when you really don't want to gamble, especially if you have a limited budget started out, and I don't know anybody that's just starting out that doesn't have a limited budget. Nobody wants to throw their money away. So what I do and tell people to do, and I still do this to this day. It's a huge part of our traffic strategy. I would say on any month is 40 to 50 month. We make friends. And that sounds so dumb. That sounds so dumb, Tim, but you know that I do this each and every day. I make friends in that industry. So back to, let's say, let's go with the landscaping example, because it's really easy and a lot of people can wrap their head around landscaping and stuff like that. If I'm putting out a landscaping a product or something like that where I know that there's going to be people interested in this thing,
right?
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the bookstore, or I'm going to go to the library, which there's actually books in there. There's a lot of people that don't know that anymore. It's not just a bank of computers.
You know what? I don't believe you.
I know there's a lot of people that don't. I am that guy that's actually that weirdo in the library that's actually looking at books these days. But I'll go into the library just because it's fun. I mean, I can do a lot of this stuff online, or if not everything online. And I'll start pulling books that I know have done well on my topic, and I'll start looking through their table of contents, and I'll have like 4, 5, 6 books on that subject, and I'll look at their table of contents, like what similarities am I seeing in all their table of contents? Mm-hmm. Well, I know that it's important enough to be in these books that are bestsellers. Then there's probably a demand for that general information. So that's where I'll start actually writing out my own table of contents, not exactly like them, but those general ideas. If there's in the table of contents is like about mulch and stuff like that. Well, I know I probably need to talk about mulch.
Right.
And if there's one on aerating lawns, then I probably need to talk about that as well. And so I'll actually get an outline of my product. And we're talking about, and I know that I'm back to like product creation, but I promise it swings back around. And it's really cool how this all kind of lays on top of each other. And so once I've got my table of contents and everything, I'll actually cite these books as my sources. And this is something, if you get an information product or, out there that actually has like a works cited or a bibliography section,
right,
then it's probably mine, because nobody else is doing this, even though I've taught this for years. It's just like I'm trying to get it. There's a few people that do it. There is. And I'll cite them as sources because that information was really good. And so once my product is done, I'll go back to these people, these best-selling artists that probably have websites, huge Facebook followings, huge Twitter followings, huge Instagram followings, and a mailing list and all this other stuff, all this traffic that would be interested in my product because they were interested in theirs.
Yep.
And I'm going to make that person my friend. And I'm going to send them a nice little email saying, look, hey, Mr. Grass Guy, I thought so highly of your book, and I'll say the book, that I actually included it and cited it as a source in my own offering, and I'll say the name over there, it was out of chapter 3, page 26 and stuff like that. I loved it. My audience loves it. I tell them that. My audience loves it. Mm-hmm. And, I start a dialogue with them. And a lot of times I've done the interview method with them too. Hey, I don't care if I have an audience or not. My audience that I will have is going to love it. And then I'll ask them over to an interview, just like we're doing just right now. I'll interview them on Skype. If they don't have time for that, I'll just send them 10 questions in an email, something like that, something. So now I have more content for my blog. I have content. If we do a Skype thing, I have content for the YouTube channel. I have audio that I could put into a podcast or something like that. But most importantly, Tim, I'm ranking for this best-selling product's name on the YouTube channel almost right away. That author's name that people are going to be looking for when they're searching around for stuff. And after 10 or 12 of these, now through just being around them and surrounding myself with all the experts in my field, I'm immediately an expert in my field just by proxy.
Exactly.
So people are like, holy, so that elevates my authority. Plus, after we get together and I talk to them 4 or 5 times, I think by now, and your audience probably knows by now, I have no qualms about talking to people.
Right.
So, But I love it. I know that if I get on the phone with someone, I'm not a salesman or anything like that, but I know if I get on the phone with someone, they're going to know that my intentions are pure, that I'm looking out for their best efforts as well.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time, our fourth or fifth conversation, because this stuff doesn't happen overnight, but it happens very fast, they know that I'm promoting them. I've already done a lot of stuff for them. I'm going to ask them, hey, you know what? This thing, that product I first told you about back when I sent you that email, your people would really like to check it out as well. Would you mind mentioning it on your website, in your email newsletter, on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your Instagram? Oh, by the way, if you want me to have a blog post written, I've already got one for you right here. I would always have a pre-written blog post, so they don't even have to do the content. And of course, it links back to my website. And that right there, that's still 45% easily of our total traffic strategy is, and it's not just me doing this. I have people that do this for me. I have assistants that reach out to people all the time, and I'll actually do the talking back and forth. But that right there immediately puts me at the forefront of any market that I walk into, because now I am the market expert, so to speak.
Right.
Okay. But since I do want to back up, but since I don't do the writing of my products, it's not me. I say it's me, but it's our writer that's to do it. So if you go out and Google my name with landscaping, you're not going to find much, you know what I mean? But you will find our writer that we actively promote with them. Now, for anybody listening to this right now, you don't have a staff of writers. That's cool. That's find what you're interested enough in and go and do it. Just like my boy Gary Vaynerchuk, he says, just go and do it, screw it up a couple of times, make a lot of friends, because absolutely nothing you can do short of really making someone angry, which is impossible to do if you're genuine, just trying to help them. There's no way you can screw it up. It's the internet. There's always a delete button,
Oh, that's true. So with actually being that type of a person that can be engaging and actually bring somebody in to where they become your friend, they're more than an associate. Is there kind of a waiting game like in dating where before you make the proposal, or do you just kind of go with the flow and just see where things just end up?
It is kind of it's a little bit of a dating kind of thing. Like if I'm not going to go straight for the first kiss, right away on the first date. I want them to be comfortable with me. I want them to have fun with me. I want them to know that I respect them. And I want them to know that, I'm going to do for them as much as I want them to do for me. Matter of fact, I'm going to do for them first.
So what else do you do as far as engaging someone when you get started? What other things do you have in your arsenal for traffic?
Okay, for actual traffic, we do a lot of social, but we do social a lot differently. We don't really ramp up social until we kind of have like a little bit of a following, because there's nothing worse to me and nothing sadder than posting to nothing. Like if I'm making that post and you're waiting around for likes or whatever, that to me is a little bit sad. I don't like to do that. So I like to have a little bit of a following, a little bit of a targeted following. We do a lot of paid traffic though.
That makes sense. So one of the things that I learned from you in the beginning with the whole thing of citing, I kind of wanted to go back to that because I'm guilty of it. I don't do it nearly as much as I should, and I'm sorry. But I found it to be a really, really unique way of getting a author or some type of creator or something credit. Does stroking their ego end up having a feeling of being slimy, or do they actually take it in as being as genuine as you make it to be?
I guess you're not the first that's asked me that question, and I just want to make it clear we're not, kissing their butt or anything like that. It's just when we go to when we go to a place and like I'm really big on history. So when I met a guy that runs a history podcast not too long ago, I was genuinely stoked to meet him.
Yeah.
Now, this is a nerdy thing that almost nobody else has ever heard of this guy. But like to me, he's like this, I really respect what he's doing. And so I try to channel that enthusiasm when I talk to him, or when I talk to anyone else, because I want to match their level of enthusiasm that they have for their chosen. This is their career,
right?
So obviously they have a real deeply rooted passion for it. They've written books on it. They've created content on it, whether it's a huge YouTube channel or whatever. They've got a whole lot of people that are interested in it and everything. So I don't like fake that enthusiasm, but I do get to the point where I'm like, look, I really respect what you're doing. This is awesome, without being, butt kissy about it,
Yeah.
So I like to think it comes off as genuine. I've never had anyone say, oh, this is weird, I did have a lady a couple of years back that was like, after the second email to her, because I usually kind of drop off the emails, because when you email someone out of the blue, you can't really get hurt if they don't email you back.
Right.
You never know what's going on in that person's life,
right.
Personal or business. So, but I always follow up with a second email and sometimes a phone call. And a lot of people aren't used to getting phone calls from the internet, so to speak. But I followed up with a second email, and she emailed me back, and she was like, look, I don't know, like, I don't know what you're expecting, but like, I write about flowers. And I'm like, no. And so I had to turn on a little bit of the Southern boy charm. I'm like, no, ma'am, I really like, this is totally above board. Like, I don't know what you think's going on. She's a darling lady. We talk every once in a while to this day.
Yeah.
But I know that there's a hesitation for a lot of people to kind of reach out. But if you use that to your advantage, you're going to be head and shoulders above the rest of the game, because people are gravitated to the internet because, most people would like to bypass that human component.
Right.
But when you bring the human component on, and not only bring it, but really, really bring it and show through what you have, then that in and of itself is going to immediately stand you out above the crowd. So when that person is like, hey, I need to tell my audience about something,
yeah,
they're going to tell them about the person that really made an impact. And so getting out of your shell, which is, I know you would never believe this, but I'm a naturally shy guy. I'm a really shy guy.
The first time you said that, I didn't believe you. And even to today, I'm like, it's like, like you and I are kind of like peas in a pod in this whole thing, because we're both introverts, but we exude all of this confidence from experience. So I totally get it, but sometimes I really don't believe you.
I'm telling you, man, you hit the nail on the head. I'm a total introvert. I'm an English nerd. I'm a history nerd. Like, I am way more comfortable with a book in a park than I am speaking to any, like, I'm the guy that used to walk into a room full of crowded people and walk right back out. And so I know what it's like to have to overcome that. Not only am I reaching out to a stranger, I'm reaching out to a stranger, quote unquote, from the internet.
Right.
And so, and I think that it's from that unique perspective that I'm able to hit on the points of where I know the hesitation that people have doing this. But look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of different ways to get traffic, but you can get traffic using your time, or you can get traffic using your money. If you want to use your time, time, money, or your skill set, or yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we already talked about the time with search engine optimization tactics or content marketing. Those would kind of fall into the time aspect. or the money, which is paid traffic and stuff like that, or with, you can use your skill set. And if you have no skill set, use your gift of gab or fake it until you make it, basically,
Yeah. Yeah. So let's end off this extra with this right here. So first off, everyone that's listening to this, what he says is gospel. And I know it to be true because before I got pig-headed and decided I'm going to do it the way I think I should do it, I was doing it the way I was taught. And yes, it does work. And I want to end off with this one thing right here that's kind of been the overall arching theme. Like when it comes to curating information, finding an audience, and pulling together resources to make this in most times a digital asset, what is the one thing you tell somebody when they first get started that gets them past being pessimistic to being optimistic?
The one thing is basically, something that everybody's heard before: fail. Right now, get it out of your system. Experience is the best teacher. Just fail over and over and over. I've failed so many times. I still fail all the time right now. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. It's fun. It's the internet. Hit the delete button, start over. It really is. As long as you're not making people angry or doing anybody wrong, people are gonna root for you. And you know that just as well as I do.
Yeah.
People are going to root for you. And when you start making friends, they're going to help you. And nobody can get along in this world. So get out there and just start making connections, because what is the old saying? Your network is your net worth.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I could tell you right now about something that happened last week where we totally fell on our face. We lost 5 figures in ad spend on this stupid little idea. Are you going to think less of me if I told you about that? Or are we going to have a laugh about it because we've been friends for so many years?
Right.
Well, so, and another thing is stop thinking this is probably most important right here. I want to leave your people with this right here.
All right.
Stop thinking there's a microphone, magnifying glass above your head, because 99% of people, or even 99.99% of people, they're not paying attention to you. They're living their own life. So when you fail, you're probably the only one that notices, and you're definitely the only one that cares.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So with that, we'll go ahead and end off this extra for the Swift Kick Show. Robert, dude, again, thank you for the gems. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it. Had a blast.
Awesome. And guys, make sure that you go to www.swiftkickshow.com/HT for more information. This is Timothy D. Craig at the Swift Kick Show. And I just can't wait for you guys to check out what we do next week. As a matter of fact, next week is Thanksgiving. So I have a little bit of a surprise. So make sure you tune in 9:30 on WERA.FM. And with that, I will check you guys later.